This is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, June 15th, and we're going through the news and video games that came out on Steam. Meanwhile, we're trying to play spells and get up in ranked. Used HS Replay to get the Spiteful Priest deck, which theoretically has the highest win ratio that I could afford to create with the dust I have. There might be a deck higher, one or two. So this is the top meta deck, and it is showing more opportunity for wins than what I've seen before. I'm actually liking it, unlike all the other HS Replay decks that I have seen that I got where they were playing pretty poorly and not fun. This feels like one I could actually stick with. And if it could get me up to rank 15, I said rank 10 last recording, I'm now lowering my expectations to rank 15, I'd be kind of happy. As far as other daily quests and such, we maybe need to go back to the European account and look at that. Moving on though, first game we have on Steam is called Korean Scary Folk Tales VR, The Forbidden Book. And is it in English? Yes, it's in English, subtitled, and Korean. So that's playable, it's in VR. The trailers don't look bad at all. It probably is a moderately small game, but it looks like it's a fully animated game. I'm not sure how well horror games though sell or can ever sell in VR. The reason arguably that Transference, which is a horror game, decided to drop the VR support is A, you'll get a bigger audience by far, but B, people don't like being trapped in the visual of a horror, where they can at best close their eyes, but they can't really close your ears, and as soon as you open your eyes, you're gonna see that horror thing again. So quite often you get the reaction shots of people cowering in fear, lunging backwards, or ripping off the VR headsets which is certainly dangerous to do. Now, to be fair, this game, Korean Scary Folk Tales, doesn't seem like it's got much of a trailer, and it's 20% off for $3.99, which means it's a pretty small game and it has no reviews, so I can't inherently recommend this, but I think it is something to consider, something to keep an eye out of. The only other game this developer has made is a positively reviewed 92% of 25 reviews in the past 30 days, called Battle Summoners, which is a VR, it looks like a VR collectible card game type experience, and that's certainly an interesting idea too, but I think adding the VR element only limits the number of people who could play the game, where a game like this would almost certainly do better on mobile phones, which is very, very easily accessible. Do I want to play anything else? Nope.
My magic will tear you apart.
Let's see, we already talked about THQ Nordic raising $168 million for future acquisitions, which that is more evidence that my duplicate tab manager is still not working. Next game we have on Steam is a game called Rover. That's R.V.E.R. It says it's a first-person shooter with elements survival in a post-apocalyptic setting. Boy, that is just three very generic ideas. Meanwhile, the graphics don't look great. Let's see, 7. Let's play the coin and counterspell on the coin. If boy is gonna regret that one.
My magic will tear you apart.
Let's go ahead and squelch this character because we're taking a while. Sure, certainly my fault, but I'm still don't want to hear people trying to prod me to play. Rover is 40% off for $3.59. It seems like it's too generic for a game. Has like one positive review, which is suspicious. Interesting, there's the suggested games is another game called Die Young that has a nice thumbnail, and another game called Nevrosa. I guess that's supposed to be Nervosa. Prelude. And that has an interesting thumbnail. I wonder how much tracking Steam really does with thumbnails, and whether impressions from those thumbnails are really something. Let's see, let's hit this.
Beware the shadow.
This will be great.
Yeah, the thing about calling it Rover is there's no like space rover or anything. It's just humans in a generic looking low effort game. First person shooter. There's another loss for me, so I'm certainly not. I'm falling backwards, not going forwards. And I don't know why I'm losing, particularly I don't feel like I'm paying such terrible attention. Next game we have is a game on Steam called Kick Them Out, which seems like it's a very basic experiment of a game. The goal is, it seems, to roll an orange ball on platforms that are pretty precarious and not fall off the edge yourself, but knock off the edges of some green cubes. There also seem to be other elements that destroy you on touch. It's 10% off for $2.69, and it's just too simplistic looking. And frankly, it's too simplistic of an idea for a game. It would be fine. Like, the developer of this game has another game that's called You Will Never Get This Achievement. Next game is called Kick the Kingdom Achievement. So it seems like this is a, you would think it was an achievement hunter game, but it only has a small amount of achievements, so I don't even know. Maybe they started making bad games to sell achievements, and now they just have reverted down to just making bad games. Alright, speaking of bad games, here we have an English-Russian game called Puke Puke Demon that's in black and white, and all the trailers in Russian, so like, this is definitely a troll game.
I must consider.
Let's see. Yeah, definitely just troll games coming out by this developer and this publisher. It seems, if not troll games, very low quality games. Right. We already talked about that. Next game we have on Steam is called Mad Dojo. It's a indie action ninja difficult platformer sports game. It's single player only, which is was a slight concern.
Meddlesome insects.
Seems like you're doing some Super Meat Boy-esque maneuvers, which, yeah, that a dojo or a ninja is in that style where you would expect to see some of those crazy Super Meat Boy moves. It is an incredibly difficult game, it looks like, so it's not for me. It requires a controller to play. It's $4.99. So yeah, it looks. It's got like 22 positive to 6 negative score. I imagine Super Meat Boy in a lot of ways opened up the door for fans of a whole genre to now know and love that genre. And so, yeah, there very possibly are Super Meat Boy fans out there that just want more Super Meat Boy. And something like Mad Dojo might satisfy them. This is from a developer who's made a couple of positively reviewed games and a couple of mixed reviewed games, so that's not inherently the worst developer ever. And the game itself, Mad Dojo, looks alright and the reviews look alright, but it's certainly not for me, so it's not getting on my wish list. Let's see. And is this a troll game or not? Next game we have is called Russian Fishing 4. I guess I just have to sit and watch the trailer and see if there's something crazy that's going to happen here, because this really just looks like a standard fishing game. I don't know what changes to make it a Russian fishing game, other than perhaps you're fishing in an area in Russia, or specific fish that are unique to Russia. I don't know why you would call it Russian fishing. That flags it in my mind as either being a troll game or a propaganda game, which I guess are troll games.
Pinch of death cup, heel of shoes.
There we go.
Obey.
Yeah, I watched all this trailer. It looks like it's just a single player with multiplayer with MMO. It's in English, German, Russian, and simplified Chinese. The parts of it that seem to be trolly only seem to be the achievements, and it's free to play, so I don't know. I don't know what to do there. This is a game where I want to look at the negative reviews. Here's a negative review that says, you simply cannot advance unless you play 10 plus hours a day. The grinding is real. It takes 50 to 100 real hours of good fishing for you to be able to afford a single good reel. Okay, well then that makes it unrealistic. Let's see, let's play that one.
Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise.
Let's play this.
Revenge.
Yeah, I've just lost. Let's see. Is somebody not reviewing? Here's one that says the fish don't bite. Here's one that says that it's tagged as an MMO multiplayer when all you have is a chat log. Here's one that says it doesn't work on a GTX 1080. Still playing spells. So I can't call Russian Fishing a troll game. I can just call it a game of poor quality, even for a free-to-play game. Russian Fishing Forward, that is. Seems like it's poorly designed. Let's see, is this game in English? No. Okay, well, there's a Japanese game called Melody Virus that's a visual novel that isn't in English, therefore I can't really comment too much on it, so I'm going to close that. Moving on. It's weird how this deck is not really winning for me as much as I'd like it to. Am I really that bad of a player? Probably yes. Next game we have is called Kill Count, K-I-L-C-O-U-N-T, one word. It's called an indie casual RPG comedy story rich. It looks worse than an RPG Maker game, in the sense that there's like no graphics here. It's giant boxes of pixels and blackness, and it's not in widescreen. It's really, really, really ugly looking. It seems to only have 4 or 5 colors in its palette. They want $3.99 with 20% off, and there's 2 suspicious positive reviews for it. Apparently, it's like The Witcher 3 and Honey Palm, which I'm, according to the recommendations on Steam, for me, which probably isn't like either one of those.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
Let's see. I guess I might as well do this and see if this is explosive trap.
Big sharp pointy teeth.
Next game we have is a game called Wonfurn, W-O-N-F-O-U-R-N. It's a VR game tag action adventure violent strategy. It looks like a VR attempt at a fantasy game. You can play as a rogue, a warrior, a decent collection of female characters that are different classes. But as for the actual gameplay, seems to be on rails gameplay for the most part. One where you're riding on a cart, one where you're riding on a dragon. I saw a little bit of gameplay where you're standing and shooting an arrow. So you're seeing the combination. Here it's showing me a storefront where you would purchase and sell and maybe trade things. You're seeing a combination here of different small mini game experiences that were being sold individually on Steam for VR, and now Wonfurn merged a lot of those together into something that's closer to being a finished product, although I still don't really think it's that great. It's 20% off for $10.39, and there's no reviews, of course. This is a real attempt to make a game, and it's from a developer who's made several games. Some are positive, some are mixed, some are neutral. I'd say it's pretty shockingly an equal balance there. Let's see. What would be the best move right now to do? Hear this. Hear this.
right away.
Yeah. I don't think I will be wishlisting one for it, though. It is nice to see them try to make some actual games. Next game we have on Steam is called Flaming Pixels, and we're definitely in full steam at this point, as far as full steam on Steam as far as releasing games. E3 is over as far as anybody on Steam Direct cares. So Flaming Pixels calls itself an action indie platformer with fantasy and 2Ds. It's pixel graphics, and it looks like it's a player versus player in a single screen arena type game that we've seen. Although it's actually labeled as only single player, so it's not even player versus player, so it's player versus a bunch of random AIs. They want $4.19 with 30% off. So, but I wouldn't pay that much. It's from a developer that's made several other games, but none of them have gotten enough reviews to even get a rating. That probably tells you something too. Just a lack of initial appeal. Next game we have on Steam is called Through the Tomb. It's a casual indie adventure action game. It seems like it's slightly more of an experiment than a finished project. There's a lot of half-finished looking graphics here. A lot of platforming and weirdness. It looks like a VR game, but nothing here says it's a VR game. The price is right, however. It's free, so can't really complain too much. It has 5 positive reviews. Here's the first recommended. Through the Tomb is a pretty rough game. I liked the idea myself, and I was able to enjoy it.
Medicine insects.
The first person platforming is a little bit floaty, and you get used to it quickly. Like so. In this one suspicious positive review that I'm reading, which I call any small amounts of positive reviews suspicious, they got the price right at least. It's from several developers are listed as the developer, and then the publisher is listed as Pyramid Peak, and that publisher hasn't made anything else too. I think you can easily ignore Through the Tomb and not ever miss that you missed it, or regret that you missed it. Let's see. Next game we have is called Brathian, B-R-A-T-H-I-A-N. It says it's an indie game. That's the only tag on it. Wow. This may be the first game I've ever seen that has not had more tags to begin with. Seems like indie is the bare minimum almost everybody does. Brathian looks like a Game Boy game. It's black and white with some maybe purplish background, grayish screen. It's still failing miserably. We're not really making much progress here. Let's take a break. Let's take a break and try Freeze Elemental. Let's see, it has a one-time all-time peak of 1 player. This game is $4.99. This seems like it's literally a game made by somebody who has no nobody else that they could even get to play the game. Like, I almost said friends there, but that wasn't what I meant to say. It says this game has multiplayer, local multiplayer, co-op, local co-op, split screen. So it seems like it is built from the ground up. The description is explore the land of Brathian by yourself or with a friend, fighting guardians and using their powers to keep magical crystals away from the malicious hands of in this retro action platformer game. It does not have the tag of action or platformer or retro. All three of those tags could have been in the listings. More and more I'm seeing every now and then a Game Boy looking game. I don't know why you want to make a Game Boy looking game. It doesn't look pretty. People can do better now, so they should do better now. And since I'm trying to cast spells, I'm gonna cast as many as possible. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. The Binding of Isaac creator Edmund McMillan is working on a multiplayer game, and from what I hear, it's not set in the Binding of Isaac or Super Meat Boy universe at all. However, it's a little unbelievable that it's not going to have at least some sort of the similar aesthetic. His sequel, Match 4 dungeon crawler game to Binding of Isaac: The Legend of Bumbo, is about to come out. He made a game called Fingered, where you're pointing out a suspect based on information, kind of like a Guess Who style game. Guess Who being a tabletop board game. I guess it's not a board game, it's probably a tabletop something else game. But yeah, I don't think you're gonna see a hyper realistic multiplayer game of that sort. No first person shooters, I would bet. Or maybe he will. Maybe he's really trying to do something super different. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's see. Next game we have is a game called Spell Shocked. It's spelled S-P-E-L-L-S-H-O-K-K-E-D. So they misspelled Shocked, intentionally or otherwise. It's tagged as an early access action indie casual game. It, to me, looks like it's probably a simplistic dungeon crawler combination game. Maybe it's in VR, or maybe you're dragging things around.
What to do?
With a mouse. It's not all in the dungeons, because this first part of the trailer has you fighting a demon on the top of a hill. But the graphics don't look pretty here. This is not visually appealing. All-time peak of 1, which I shouldn't make any big assumptions based on that because these are brand new games. However, this game is also labeled as early access and requires VR, and it's selling for $19.95 US dollars, so $20. $20 for something we've seen tried so many other times and never turned into a full-fledged interesting game in VR. Playing as a wizard, being able to cast spells, it just does not work. We saw one 2 days ago, and I don't know, I don't really have anything else to say about it as they keep coming. Next game we have on Steam is called Block Cat Space Golf. I don't know what this is even supposed to be, but it's seems to be a random assortment of virtual reality things with a lot of neon. I don't know what the deal with the neon is. It seems like you're trying to flick something with some awkward gravity mechanics.
Job's done.
It's $1.99. I can't see anything here that I particularly like to even want to pay any amount of money for a Block Cat Space Golf. It's described as mini golf with a cat in space. That's the description. First game from that developer too. It's almost like they wrote a story around a bad gameplay mechanic. Gamasutra has an article, Get a Job. Funcom is hiring a senior tools programmer. If you want to work in Durham, North Carolina, we've probably seen that job listing multiple times. I'm starting to get the feeling that the job listings are getting posted multiple times. Not a terrible thought though, for me just to repeat it every time I see it, because that probably means the position hasn't been filled, and if anybody actually wants to try to apply for those jobs, at least you know those positions exist. In fact, it might even help educate people who are still in school or who are thinking about maybe going to school about what kinds of jobs would potentially be available by the time they graduate, and then as far as programming in the video game industry. I have to now, though, throw out the huge caveat that I don't particularly suggest anybody work in the video game industry as a programmer, not unless you can get into maybe one of the Canadian offices that have some union support, or maybe some of the French offices. Working in California, you're going to get overworked, you're going to be underpaid, and you're going to be laid off at the end of every single project you do. And that's just not stable, and that's just not good work. You'd be better paid and better treated as a general programmer, and then in your spare time programming a game yourself. And frankly, if you want to get into video game programming because you love video games, the one thing you lose more than anything by becoming a video game programmer or employee, creator of some sort, is time to actually play video games. Or desire to play video games, that's also goes away. Next game we have is a game called Perfect Heist. It's tagged Early Access Strategy Action Indie Multiplayer Game. It is labeled Multiplayer Only, Early Access, 40% off for $2.99. It seems like it's a online cops and robbers type game. Graphics don't look good, and you're robbing a bank. I'm pretty sure that Payday already has done this.
Job's done.
And while Payday 2 might have had some trouble in its first release with a lot of microtransactions, I think it's probably alright to play these days. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they added microtransactions to Payday 2 and it's now in a terrible format. And maybe you just want to play Payday 1. But I don't think you want to play this. This looks like something that's specifically designed for YouTubers to try and play together. Oh, that was an interesting story I didn't see an article about, but I heard about. Apparently, the famous streamer on Twitch, Ninja, took 2 days off to play in a esports invitational in a very popular game. I'm not sure which one it was. And he came back after taking 48 hours of not streaming, and 40,000 of his subscribers had unsubscribed from him. Which, as much as I complain about YouTube automatically unsubscribing people, like, Twitch I don't think does that. So that speaks to a very different attitude and response for at least Ninja's followers on Twitch. Like, I don't see a future or a career at Twitch from very many people, if anybody, if the viewers are so flippant they won't stay subscribed to people who take a weekend off. Even if the Ninja was willing to stream every single day, he's gonna burn himself out eventually, and that's just craziness. Certainly I haven't seen a major loss of subscribers because I reduced the number of time slots I was releasing footage on, or because I shortened the number of minutes that each recording was. I could have probably frozen the character and then done something different. Oops, I could have also played that. So yeah, if I lost a significant number of subscribers because of that, that's crazy. That's unrealistic expectations. YouTube's kind of doing a small experiment where they're redoing and investigating automatically generated thumbnails, and I know you're not supposed to really have automatically generated thumbnails, but I don't have an artist that could do my 6,000 plus videos and put thumbnails on them. I also know, because I don't have an artist making custom thumbnails, that I'm definitely getting fewer clicks. I'm definitely getting fewer subscribers. I'm definitely getting fewer views. But frankly, if I tried to do it myself, it would be MS Paint level graphics, and it would not help anything. So I'm stuck until I do find an artist who would be willing to work for basically free, which is a very unfair thing to ask of any artist. However, if YouTube's new, their experiment that they're doing right now, where they're showing a small amount of people new auto-generated thumbnails and seeing if people are gonna click on them more, if that really does result in a better experience for me and causing more people to click on my videos and hopefully staying on the videos and watching the videos, that could be very helpful. But this is YouTube we're talking about. The CEO of YouTube, in really a weird sense, responded to an article about paid leave, and that's like the first thing she said in a long time. She also like thanked or mentioned the survivors of the YouTube shooting during like because they were doing like a some kind of memorial type thing. But that kind of is the only things that she's even said recently. She's been pretty radio quiet. I just got an email for YouTube TV, which I've never gotten before, and I'll have to look at that. So they're more and more they're trying to push people to YouTube Music and YouTube TV and away from what YouTube actually is. Meanwhile, us YouTube creators are just forever and always upset with YouTube. Let's see. Let's move on. Actually, I think if I can get all the spells done here, we'll go check out the European account, and then we'll be kind of done with the day. We have a game on Steam called Melting World Online. It's a top-down, real-time strategy, although it's labeled as an RPG. I cannot believe for a second it's not actually a real strategy game. A real-time strategy game. It looks way too much like that. It's multiplayer only, so already it's out of my interest zone. It's 40% off for $5.99 in early access. I don't think you get very many mech fans making a top-down real-time strategy game with mechs. I think mech fans actually want to see the mechs, and you're so zoomed out that doesn't make sense. This is from a developer who made one positively reviewed game called Corrupted. It's 91% positive as a says it's an action-adventure RPG with gore.
What to do? What to do?
It looks like a Diablo ripoff. I think, yeah, I just looked at this the other day. This might be vote manipulation again. More and more, I'm gonna start calling things vote manipulation. Should have cast a spell. And then the other game they've made is called Wild Terror Online, which is mixed reviews. Not interested in any of their products. Gamma Sutra has an article. Nintendo boss says loot boxes have gotten a bit of a bad rap. Nintendo of America boss Reggie Fils-Aimé has thrown his 2 cents into the loot box debate. Says the polarizing monetization model has gotten a bit of a bad rap. Fils-Aimé claims that the model isn't inherently a poor mechanic, but has simply been misused by some companies. I'm like, oh, seriously, Reggie had no reason to say any of this other than the fact that shows a desire for Nintendo to have more loot boxes in some of their games. So Nintendo might get a lot worse with loot boxes in the future, so keep an eye out for that. There's a game on Steam called Wild West VR, second Western game. Don't see usually two. Let's do this. This. And then this. Let's see, so this is just tagged as an action game, and it looks like it's a VR dual gun loading action game. It says it's single player. It's free to play, so I guess the price is right. So if you've got a VR headset and you want to play a Western game where you're basically standing in one place shooting other people who are running up and trying to shoot you, Wild West VR might be one for you. Let's see. Two. We've got 6 damage. So let's just hit everything. The developer of Wild West VR hasn't developed anything else. So let's move on. Here we've got a game on Steam called Mazes and Magic. This would have been a game I would have filtered out. It is so bad. MS Paint level graphics. 20% off for $2.39. So he's playing the Shutterlock solution. And this is first game from that developer. Yes, Mazes and Mages. Not worth your time. It's already frozen. Let's see. Does this freeze a minion anyways? Next game we have is My RC Buggy VR. It's RC cars in VR with bad graphics. For an instance like this, it almost is ridiculous that you're in an animated world at all for VR. I've seen very little instances of full motion video footage in VR, and this would have been a good example where you could have done something like that. Or at least have some mix there, where maybe the RC cars in the racetracks are VR in an augmented reality or a faked augmented reality. I imagine we'll see a growth of faked augmented reality games occur. Things that don't require an augmented reality set. Okay. Do this. And then freeze this. And this. This. And then attack here. Attack here. Return. So my RC Buggy VR is from developers made several other VR games, only one of which has ever been even positively reviewed, and that was the free game. This one is 99 cents. I don't think I'd spend that much. It doesn't look pretty enough. Next game we have on Steam is called Realms of Supremacy. It's RPG maker looking RPG, and my rule about RPG maker games is no thank you. They don't look good, and they come from a concept of low effort from the word go. Let's see. This and this and let's see. Just go kill this.
The time is now.
Okay. And then I'm back to 30 health. You can certainly see why Elemental Mage is played by some people. Realms of Supremacy is the first game by this developer. It's $2.99 with no discount and no thank you. In a weird twist, as I'm looking at my schedule, I kind of forgotten that I had merged my kids time slot with my point and click time slot. So it actually is back to the point where I should be playing a point and click game. And for that reason, I'm kind of sadly gonna go back and play Black Mirror 2. Like, I didn't really enjoy Black Mirror 1 as a point and click game, but I'm committed now, so I want to play 2 and see how it goes. We'll see if I can. It is the first instance of me playing a point and click adventure game that I didn't have any experience with it whatsoever, and so playing it certainly showed that I'm not as good at point and click adventures as I may have let on when playing something that I've already played before. Kind of obvious there, but but I still also need to take a break from. Should play this. Actually, I can still play this. Perfect. I need to take a break from playing Borderlands 2 and playing Black Mirror, because Black Mirror needs to be scheduled a lot quicker than even the beginning of Borderlands 2. And I'm not even sure how much of Borderlands 2 I'm even going to have have time to schedule before the October month happens. Moving on, Your Gamer has an article, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle is a murder mystery built around a broken save system. This is probably an advertisement for a game that is not out yet, and I'm not even sure this is actually a video game. Yes, it is. No, wait, it's showing the sexy Brutale in one screenshot. That's the game I wanted to come back. Yep, this is a Your Gamer article about a game that's not out yet. I definitely do want to get around to playing Sexy Brutale. So many games I just never get around to playing, both old and new. That's why inherently, if I had a budget and if I wasn't at the point where I need to buy all of the Pinball Arcade pinball tables before they lose the license, probably forever, for on June 30th, I would probably consider spending $250 on newer games, or taking that $250 and purchasing.
I'm almost out of cards. I'm out of cards.
Interesting. I cannot give a beast +2/+2 because I don't have any beasts. The race is on.
Job's done.
Like, that was the worst thing that could possibly happen to me, is that this gets stopped.
My claws that catch.
I'm still trying to figure out what this game Zenki Zero Last Beginning is. It's some kind of something? Like, over the course of several other Japanese games, this one, Zenki Zero, got mixed together, and I'm not sure if it's a dungeon crawler, I'm not sure if it's a visual novel, I don't know what's going on. This one, I think, is the story of, like, the last few humans on the planet that they got all frozen together, and now they're, I think, doing something to try and survive. It does have a lot of talking, so I know there is a communication aspect to it, and it seems like there might be a survival aspect to it, because I'm seeing gameplay of wandering around picking up things off the ground, and there seems to be some major relationship elements to the gameplay too. Right now, all I'm really trying to do is cast spells, so casting a spell here and doing that is fine. If he played some kind of card that made him draw more, he would lose. But I doubt he's gonna do that. Yeah, it seems like there is some monster fighting in this Zenki Zero game too. But man, it seems like it's kind of all over the place as the game. I really am gonna have to wait until some other people review this. It's labeled as an RPG. That's kind of all we know. How we finally played 20 spells. We're just about done. Alright, so all of these on the Americas account as far as daily quests have been done. And let's switch back to the European account, because I bet at this point I've got a new European account quest. Let's see. Yep, I still need more information about this game. That game has taken a really long time to make sense in my head, and it still hasn't done it. Alright. Take 15 turns. We'll trade that out if we can. There you go. Take 25 turns. Good to go. And while we're at it, we'll be playing as Murloc Paladin. Why not? Gematsu has an article. D3 publisher announces Disease Hidden Object for Switch, which clearly is some kind of hidden object game on the eShop. It's probably a pretty horror-esque game. Yeah, it looks pretty gross looking as far as a hidden object game. I suppose you could add a little bit of horror aspects to a hidden object game and make people look at things and gross things they don't want to, but that's, you're really getting into gore more than anything else. Let's see.
Well met.
Let's see. This, and then return. Gematsu has an article. The Yokai Watch 5th anniversary title presentation is set for June 27th. A new smartphone title is likely to be announced. I wouldn't be surprised if they also announced a Switch game, but it probably would only come out in Japan. Yokai Watch being not hyper popular in the West, to my knowledge at least.
That's incredible.
Let's see, we have a game on Steam called Adventure Delivery Service. I was ready to write it off immediately, but the graphics look a little bit better than average. How much do they want for it? 20% for $3.99? That seems like that's a little too expensive, and it has no reviews. But maybe I'll be generous on this game and leave it. It seems pretty fast-paced. It seems like a dungeon crawler.
That's incredible.
Let's see.
That's incredible.
It seems like they have boss fights. This isn't even AA game, I would say, but it might make it to like an A level. I haven't in my own head defined what an A level game is. It's the first game from this developer, but it's a procedurally generated roguelike action adventure game. It doesn't look terrible, although if it's procedurally generated, there lies the problem. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a story here. So this might be something you would play if you would have played every single other procedurally generated roguelike out there. But I think you can find something better. But nice effort on the developer for their first release. Unfortunately, I don't think I can recommend it for myself. Here we've got something called Logistical Brazil, which is probably one of a mini series of cheaply made games. It's 15% off for $8.49. There is, yes, a bundle here for $130 of logistical games. That is crazy. They're calling it a large open world strategy puzzle game where you transport different cargoers to complete all the towns. Seems like it's a game based around cities, and but the menu and everything looks awful. Let's keep playing. And I bet none of these logistical games have any ratings. Nope, 2 of them have a positive ratings, 2 of them have mixed ratings, but I would suspect that's more vote manipulation than anything else, because that looked horrible. Next game we have is called The Lost Sky. You're playing as a dragon flying around, and sort of a bullet hell shooter-esque game, but I don't know if it's so much bullet hell shooters, it's just flying around and shooting. Nah, it's pretty bullet hellish, and any of these bullet hell games they just have too much on the screen for me. It's 15% off for $2.54 if you want to play as a dragon. I'm not sure, there's a ton of selections there, although Spyro the Dragon probably do a lot better. And it is the first game from this developer, so yeah, I'm not interested in Lost Sky. Let's see. Trilobite Games is trying to kickstart a game called Automata, feature film. It's not a game, it's a feature film. Interesting. And Trilobite Games is the creators of 7th Guest and 11th Hour, or 13th Hour, whatever it's called. And they followed me on Twitter, so I'm following them back. We'll keep an eye on them. Although I probably will mute them pretty quickly. We already talked about Telltale being sued by its former CEO for 2 years. IGN has a best of E3 2018 awards. There's kind of a long list here, and frankly I don't care what IGN has to say, so I'm going to close that quickly. We already talked about the Bad Gravedigger. We already talked about Kicker. There are so many duplicate things. Here's a game called Angela Lost, which was a strategy RPG violent game. I lost some of my links, some of the games I had opened up Chrome tabs in trying to get the duplicate Chrome tabs to automatically close, and so I may have missed some games. This looks like it's a VR game. It supports English and simplified Chinese. It's $7.99. It's too expensive. It's kind of horror-esque, and I bet it's pretty simplistic. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have a great experience with this game. First game from this developer. Yeah, Angela Lost. Don't think so. I'm heavily benefiting from not having VR, definitely. I think a lot of people, everybody is. Just because you're not even close to thinking about purchasing some really awful games. Speaking of really awful games, here's a cheap Chinese game, best as I can describe it, since it's only in English and Chinese, and then it has Chinese writing and the number 13, and then it's showing me pictures of this like pig creature holding 2 guns and a mask, and the graphics don't look great in the animation, and the graphics actually in the game look even worse. Just awful all around, not in widescreen. I don't even know why you're making games that aren't in widescreen. My best guess is because these are ports of some mobile game. The interesting question certainly to when will we begin to see some effect of Steam being in China. We shouldn't probably see a noticeable effect of Steam being in China until Steam actually launches in China, which they haven't done yet. Of course, this Chinese name ended in number 13 is the only first game from this developer too. But we might see an effect even slightly before then. Here's a game called Magical Flight Academy, which is a VR Harry Potter on a broomstick or Witch on a broomstick game where you're flying around and flying through castles and such. I certainly wonder what happens when you crash into something, if you can crash into something. You're chasing after a dragon. Seems like you can also cast spells on the dragon.
For justice.
Because that's the thing that would drive me crazy. Is if I bounced into a wall in the game and then felt like I needed to regain my balance in the real world and then fell over, which I imagine might happen. There's an indication that your left hand is indicating that you actually are holding on to a virtual broomstick, and while the thumbnail shows somebody actually using a broomstick in the pictures, I imagine you actually have to just be standing, so it's not going to feel quite right. Anyways, this is $14.99, no reviews clearly. I think this game probably will get reviews eventually. Somebody will be suckered into buying this one. And the only other game made by this developer is Dracula Vampires vs. Zombies, which does not look good either. Although the Magical Flying Academy actually did look alright. So slowly but surely it feels like they are getting to the point where
your magic shall not save you. For justice.
Where VR games are decent quality, but extremely slowly. There's a game here called Total Singu, S-I-N-G-U. It looks like a top-down dual-stick shooter with the graphics looking pretty bad, so I'm not interested. 22% off for $3.89. Look at this, we're gonna get to rank 20, it looks like. But yeah, not interested in it. 2 positive reviews, no negative reviews. That doesn't really matter to me. And we've got a third soccer game, sort of, called Footy Ball Tournament 2018. This time it's pixely square graphics, but you are playing some form of soccer. Looks like almost a score-based arcadey style of soccer where you're kicking the ball back and forth a lot more than I think most players of video games would want you to, which is probably in a football or a soccer game. In video game, you'd want to keep the ball in possession of the same character that the character is playing as, even in a game where kicking the ball effectively kicks the ball to yourself and you switch to the other player who just received the ball. However, in soccer, I wouldn't be surprised if some plays do involve kicking the ball between 4 or 5 different people backwards and forwards. Anyways, I'm no expert on soccer. Footy Ball Tournament 2018 is 10% off for $4.49. It looks like you might consider buying this game. It doesn't seem extremely expensive. It's not pretty. It's very flat graphics that are kind of obvious, and let's go ahead and play this. And return. This is the first game from this developer, so you should probably be cautious because of that. And I'm on the Humble Store.
I'm
And we have the Daedalic 2018 Humble Bundle. Still really only being the only games bundle we have that's airing. And I'm just gonna check my Twitter. No, not my Twitter, but my Twitch page. Every single stream now, just to make sure we know that everything that is supposed to stream up is streaming and everything is working, at least slightly to my satisfaction. Let's see. This. This. That. Turn. Hey, somebody has direct messaged me on Twitter.
Out of my jungle!
So, Trilobite Games apparently has a autoresponder. It says thank you for following us. And it's just a advertisement like, okay, Trilobite Games, this is a weird way to advertise yourself. It's sleazy to direct message me through an autoresponder to begin with. Like, if I would like all messaging services to actually have messages actually written by human beings, not by fake things. Can we not have communication between computers? What if I have an autoresponder that says, thank you for messaging me, I'll get back to you never, and we just auto-respond through the auto-respond? Somebody liked Darksiders Definitive Edition number 15 on my channel, thank you for liking it on Twitter. I'm still not 100% certain that Twitter is getting me any views on YouTube though. Honestly, if somebody told me I'm wasting all of my effort trying to get people to follow me on Twitter and I should focus only on YouTube alone, I'd probably believe them, but I'd probably still stick with Twitter because it's a irreplaceable at the moment source of information for me. Let's see, scrolling down now. Scrolling down Twitter to see any new news, and as soon as we get the daily quest done here, there's this game called Vane Hotel. We'll talk about that on Monday. I probably will look through some of these. There was reports I heard, I can't really quote who said them, saying that some of the players of Fallout 76, when that game comes out, have already said that they were going to take the role of NPCs and that they're going to run private servers to change and tweak and add things that are missing for Fallout 76, which is inherently something I take to interpret as, you know, Bethesda's getting their way. They're selling you a product that has no content, and they've actually tricked people into making their own content around it. Like, this really is not the response that people should be having.
Oh, there.
Alright. This. And this. Hearthstone episode 925 aired on my channel 54 minutes ago. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article. Blizzard is building World of Warcraft Classic on the 1.12 Drums of War patch. which I'm sure people who know World of Warcraft probably would have some response there. Me, not so much. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has a blog for composing video game music and virtual reality, part 3. I'm not interested in that. Let's see. Gotta play this and this and this. And we'll go ahead and do that too.
For justice.
Continue scrolling down. A maze bowl. Bowling game. PC Gamer has a BioWare answers our biggest questions about Anthem. I frankly don't even have any questions about Anthem. You've lost my interest from the word go so much. That's exactly what I needed.
Your magic shall not save you. Oh, you got me.
Let's see. PC Gamer says Steam will restrict fake games which exist solely for achievement farming. How they mean restrict, I don't know. I assume what this might break down to is either they get labeled as achievement games and put in a specific section, or they're limiting the number of achievements out there. Since achievements never really meant anything anyways, I don't know what the restriction could be other than going forward games can only have games can only have 100 achievements. Let's see, this is an interesting story. Sales from Fallout 76 Country Road cover will be donated to charity. Let's see. Going to Habitat for Humanity. Interesting. It's odd that that's getting announced now when that could have been something at the Bethesda E3 East press conference. Maybe there was somebody who complained. I don't know. Like that's kind of all I could guess, is that somebody for some reason complained about them selling music. It says Valve will be limiting but not removing games designed to pad players' global achievement counts. There's a decent number of people that love padding their achievement counts as if it means something. I think you would be underserving that audience. As long as people know what they're getting and they're happy with the product. I mean, I've seen evidence that people are very happy with the achievement games for the most part. 2 hours ago, Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition number 16 aired on my channel. Let's see. PC Gamer has a speculative article here. The Steam Link app could be closer to arriving on iOS after both Apple and Valve make changes. So maybe Apple made some changes too. Gamma Sutra says Culture Simulator beats sales target after selling 40,000 copies. What was its target? Clearly it wasn't that high.
For justice.
Job's done.
Let's see. Gamma Sutra has behind the motion capture kiss of The Last of Us Part 2. That was an interesting thought too, is that they had to pay somebody, 2 people, to motion capture that kiss, or they had to animate that straight from scratch. So there could have been an entire day in which they just had people kissing over and over again, and that's creepy in the whole range of ways.
For justice.
Let's go kill that. Continue scrolling down. Let's see, here's another game that came out on Steam. We don't really need to cover these. We'll do them on Monday. So, how many times have I said it now when I'm done streaming here that I'll want to play Borderlands 2? Decent chance I won't do any of that. I should. I definitely know I should, but it is also possible I'll just take it easy. Might as well. It's not like YouTube is a paying gig at this point.
Justice.
But also I don't want my entire channel to fall apart and not have content. I want to be as consistent as possible. Keep my fans who did subscribe satisfied and happy.
I wonder.
Like, I guess your fans are all you really have in the end. Gamma Sutra has an editor roundtable on how does Ubisoft's Hits Record partnership impact devs. I imagine it's going to impact devs in several sneaky ways, because there'll just be less. Somebody could be laid off directly, but it could just be that there's less hiring because of them using hit records scheme to get art. I doubt very many employees in the game industry are hourly paid, but it probably will reduce the number of hours on a person, which could be a good thing, but it certainly won't be a good thing. Let's see. Now I'm back down to points where I've seen everything on my Twitter feed. 4 hours ago, Full Throttle episode 13 aired on my channel. Let's see. Kill him. Let's see. So now I'm just at the point where I'm gonna scroll down Steam, Twitter, and see if I see anything that I didn't see before, which sadly does happen. People are overly excited about a video of a shopping cart managing to hit a player, which was probably staged, one way or the other.
The light dim.
I should have played that first.
duty.
So I'm thinking about supercharging and reprogramming and adding a computer to a alarm clock as a project that I might get finished in a couple years as just a side. Let's see if I can actually do it. And right now it looks like the easiest way to start with that is to actually just buy an alarm clock and use all the components, because you have a shell of an alarm clock there, you have several buttons that you would still need to have, you have speakers to set off an alarm, whether they are actual speakers that you could play music through or if they're just speakers that are of such low quality that they only buzz and are just buzzers effectively. You also have opportunities there for power and power plugs and battery packs where you can put batteries for battery backup, and the LCD screen itself is the LCD 8-segment screen on most clocks, or a character screen on clocks, is not the easiest thing to purchase and separate. So that's the weird thing I've been thinking about and probably distracting myself about, and not recording. But more and more over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, I've been more thinking about doing STEM projects. I think I'm probably just learning new things, doing different things, being more varied and less obsessive than I used to be. In my old days, I would pretty much only do the same thing over and over again, whether it was playing games or programming things. Projects are good things to do, certainly. Don't let them ruin your life, but also you should try new things. And the last recording, I ended the recording saying, hey, instead of me sitting on a screen like this, scrolling down, how about I just end the recording when we're done and I'll scroll down and talk about anything that might have popped up. This time, not really necessary. I just hit the end of my Twitter feed. Gunfire Games still liking every single video of Darksiders 2. I'm not sure if they're really watching them though. And I'm not sure if I'm saying anything in the videos that would help inform the development of Darksiders 3, which would have been another game certainly that did not get any coverage or anything shown in the at E3, and that's a little surprising too. That's gonna be it for the stream. Everything worked out pretty well. We only went 40 minutes over, so I could have broken it up, last recording and this recording, and into two, and then been a short horror episode, but I still haven't figured out how to stay consistent there. Pretty good Friday. Not a ton of people in the chat, but 2 people did come by and say hi, and honestly, even saying hello on the chat and then not doing anything else is better. It really is better than just having the chat being blank. I know people don't have a lot to say that's new a lot of times. That's it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me either a game or a gift card. The Steam Summer Sale is coming up. that would be a great time to buy games and give them to me. Or you can just send me a gift card now and I can buy them myself. If you just want me to play a very specific game that isn't on the wish list, I'm more than willing to accept that too, and that puts it at the top of my list. I almost certainly would play a game that was gifted to me, save something that I couldn't put on YouTube. Not that I wouldn't love one of those another anime sex game like Honey Pop. It's just YouTube doesn't love them. I guess that's a weird point to end, but that's it for this recording. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.